Diving right in, you might have heard of quarterly planning before, but in case you haven't, you've probably heard of annual planning. So, annual planning is usually when people will take some time at the end of December or sometimes at the beginning of the year in January to set their goals for the year. And so, usually, you're setting goals for the next 12 months. And this can be a lot to do because there's a lot of pressure of like everything that you want to get done in a year, but also like December and the end of the year feels so far away. And as you guys know from the past couple of years, things can change pretty dramatically from month to month or season to season as well. So quarterly planning takes a little bit of a different approach. It takes a shorter approach to things. And quarterly planning, you're really only focused on the upcoming 90 days ahead. So you're really making a plan for the upcoming 3 months based off of what has happened in the past quarter and the past 3 months. And it's a little bit more manageable. It's easier to check in, and it's a good way to pace yourself throughout the year as well. So again, I really want to emphasize that a lot of times annual planning, people will set like really big, really lofty goals that are amazing and great goals to go after. But sometimes that approach lacks the ability to check in over time and see how you're progressing towards the goals. Quarterly planning really, because of the shorter time frame, is very time based and very action driven. So you're going to be taking action towards the actual goals on a week to week and month-to-month basis and checking in every single 90 days. So, a few basics for quarterly planning and things that I love to recommend my students to do is one, I recommend setting some time aside from the day to day of running your business and photographing shoots and weddings in order to do quarterly planning. So, each quarter, I usually set aside 1 to 3 days, and those are days that I'm not taking any sessions, I'm not taking consult calls, I don't have like doctor's appointments or anything. They're fully dedicated to just taking some time to analyze what my business is looking like or has looked like over the past 90 days and making a plan for the upcoming 90 days. I really recommend making this a little bit of a treat and taking yourself out of your normal day to day environment where you do most of your business work. Getting into a new environment can just help you get a fresh perspective and get you a little bit out of just, again, like that day to day work. And I really use this time to get an overall CEO perspective of the business as a whole, despite what maybe happens over like the last week or like the last 2 weeks. Um, and so again, like I mentioned, this is your time to really think, analyze, reflect, and plan. And it kind of gets you out of the cycle of like constantly doing without having like a vision in place. So also I recommend making this routine your own. So I'm going to show you the way that I do this, but I recommend taking that and fixing it or like adjusting it so that it fits your life and your schedule best. So, getting right into what quarterly planning looks like. So, here are the few basic pillars of quarterly planning that I recommend. Again, like I mentioned, feel free to make this your own. I do have a worksheet for you guys to kind of follow along with. And it's a worksheet that you can make like multiple copies of and use every single quarter to walk yourself through the whole process. For today, I'm kind of just going to briefly go over an overview, but the worksheet goes in depth and really helps you along with going through all of these different pillars. So, first things first, before I start planning for the upcoming quarter, I actually take some time to reflect on what the last quarter looked like. So often when we're running things day to day in our business, we can't really remember what happened like last week, let alone like what happened last month. So these are just a couple of things that I reflect on before I start planning for the upcoming quarter. And you can do this in whichever way works best for you. I personally like to journal. There's something special about like writing things out. But you could also just like type this out on the worksheet that I mentioned in the past slide. You can even just like think through this in your head if you want to, whatever works best for you. But I do take some time to think about what did the past quarter feel like. I look at my calendar and look at what my time looked like. So how much time was I shooting, editing, doing admin work? Are there any big accomplishments or big things that I like was able to do over the last quarter that I'm going to celebrate? I think were there any like bottlenecks in just my client services or any issues that came up that maybe I can like prevent moving forward. I do take a look at my finances and get just an overall picture of what the last 90 days look like. Um, and I'll do some light look at analytics of like marketing, like what is my marketing plan working? Do I feel like are there any pain points that I have with my marketing that I maybe want to switch and adjust for the upcoming quarter? And then I do take a look at like how did I do on my past quarter's goals? Are there any tasks or projects that I wasn't able to get to that I maybe want to consider for this upcoming quarter? That kind of just again like take some time to look at the business as a whole and really reflect on what the last 90 days looked and felt like. Then I start going into the different pillars of quarterly planning that I mentioned. First things first, I always look at the money just because I am trying to run a profitable business. And I like to make my business decisions, keeping the money and my time. Those are the two biggest factors, keeping those both in mind. So, things that I do in terms of quarterly planning from a financial perspective is I look at how much money I have projected to come in over the next 3 months. I look at if there are any months that are a little bit lighter or any months where I have a lot of money coming in. Just really getting a feel for what the financial like perspective looks like for the upcoming 3 months. So I can use that information with other decisions that I'm making for planning for the upcoming quarter. But I also look at my client services that I am providing. So again, like I mentioned, I kind of think through, are there any bottlenecks or any issues that I faced over the last quarter or that I've been noticing? Do I need to update any of my workflows to kind of prevent that moving forward? And I really think through, how am I looking to refine my client experience in the upcoming quarter to better serve my clients for the rest of the year and for years to come? So refining my services is usually what is going to make the bulk of the business projects that I'm doing for the upcoming quarter because that does have a direct impact on my prices and on the money that is coming into the business. So I spend a lot of time thinking through this and coming up with ideas of where I could better refine my client experience in the upcoming quarter. I also take a look at my marketing content. I will take time during my quarterly planning to think through, okay, what is the primary service that I want to focus on marketing for the upcoming 90 days? Or are there different services that I want to focus on marketing in the upcoming 3 months? And once I have that focus, then I make my marketing plan backwards from there. So once I have that main focus, then I can think through, okay, what is going to be supporting marketing content that can help educate, inspire, and engage people who are going to be interested in that service or offer that I am focusing on, either for that month or entirely for that upcoming quarter. I do something really special where I do batch create my content just because I find that that is the most efficient way of doing things. And my brain works really, really well with being able to just prepare the content ahead of time. So I'm not spending a ton of time every single day or every single week marketing my business as I'm trying to also serve my clients. So in the past, I have batched my content creation in two different ways. I've taken time every single week to batch create my content. So I used to take Mondays to just create my marketing content and have that scheduled to go out for the rest of the week. Now I try to follow more of a monthly schedule where I'll take a day or two at the beginning of the month to create all of my content to go out and to be scheduled for the rest of the month. So I'll take some time during my during my quarterly planning to come up with ideas for the type of content that I want to create and start creating kind of outlines and drafts of it. I don't go ahead and create all of the content during this quarterly planning time because I do try to reserve this time for more like overall planning rather than like executing and doing things. But I do think through what my marketing is going to look like for the upcoming 90 days. I also then will think through these different categories of different projects that I can do during the time where I am not marketing my business or serving my clients. So these are a couple of things that in the past, especially as I was growing my photography business, I would think through. Are there any updates that I want to make to my website or my overall brand? Am I looking to create a new offer or a new product within my business? And that's going to take some time and take some planning for the upcoming 90 days to execute on. Am I refining any of my offers or any of my services? So, like I mentioned, is there any part of my client experience that I need to just elevate a little bit and need to take some time out of the day to day to elevate it so that I can continue to better serve my clients in the future? Um, I also think through, are there any collaborations that I want to do? So if you're a wedding photographer and you're looking to grow your business, maybe you're thinking of planning a styled shoot. You can take some time during your quarterly planning days to come up with like your theme, reach out to vendors, etc., and like plan out how you want to tackle that big project of creating your styled shoot within the upcoming 90 days. And then again, I also think use this time to think through, are there any workflows or any of my email templates or any of my contracts or anything kind of on the back end of my business that needs some refinement? It just allows me to think through the whole business and from on an overall perspective, and then schedule out time within the upcoming 90 days to actually make those updates and make that happen. Same thing goes, I try to think through, is there anything that I need to change of what I am telling my VA that I need help with? Do I need to hire or outsource any other work just based off of how much time I was spending doing different tasks over the last 90 days? So these are all things that I kind of like think through and reflect through before I start to really plan out my next 90 days. So now comes the tactical part of things. And when I start really planning and putting kind of pen to paper for my upcoming 90 days. So first things first is I pull out my calendar. And I'm really only focusing on the upcoming 3 months. I'm not looking too far down the road because usually I have a pretty clear picture of what like time is going to look like over the next 90 days, or at least I have a good basis. The first things first, I'll make sure that I have things marked out, like any weddings that I have on the books or any shoots that I have already planned. I'll make sure that I have those like visually noted on my calendar. And then I actually go through and I block out days for what I call my monthly duty slash monthly maintenance days. I take one day a month to really make sure that I am able to get all of this like nitty gritty tasks out of the way for each month. So that's like looks like filing sales tax, making sure my bookkeeping is up to date, sending client gifts out the door. I just reserve one day every single month in order to tackle all of those. So I make sure that that is marked off, and then I also make sure that I mark off my next set of quarterly days in another 3 months or so and make sure that those aren't conflicting with like a really heavy week of editing or anything like that. And then, like I mentioned, I do mark off time to create my marketing content and make sure that I very clearly have a marketing focus for each month. And then I also make sure that I have any personal days or personal vacation that I'm taking or like family birthdays or anything like that marked off. And something that I actually do is I take this time to go ahead and make notes. So if my brother's birthday is coming up, I go ahead and make a note in my planner to like get him a gift a couple of weeks earlier, just so that I am staying on top of personal things as I am staying on top of business things as well. From there, once I have a good picture of everything that is non-negotiable in my calendar, I take a look from a bird's eye view of, do I have any weeks that are a little bit lighter in terms of work and a little bit lighter in terms of editing. And then do I have some really, really crazy weeks or maybe even like a really crazy month where I know that my main focus is really going to be on just serving the clients that I already have. This kind of gives me an overall view of what my time is going to look like over the next 90 days, which I think is like one of the biggest factors that goes into quarterly planning and planning out your business goals. From there, I also like this is a huge note, especially for moms. I try to leave 1 to 2 weeks of margin so that if there's something that happens and like your kid gets sick and you have to take them into the doctor and you like lose out on a day of work or something like that, you still have some margin and some breathing room just for, life to happen. From there, I start going into the goal setting and the planning part of things. So I decide which projects or business development type work I want to focus on over the upcoming 90 days. I generally will limit this to kind of like 2 to 3 bigger projects. So one of those projects might be like setting up a style shoot. That's going to take a few hours and a decent amount of planning and execution time on your part. Maybe you need to update your website copy. That's also a pretty big project in which you're going to need to take some time every single week to really like chip away at it. And it's not something that you can necessarily like knock out in an afternoon. So from there, once I've decided kind of 2 to 3 main like projects that I want to work on and work into my upcoming 90 days, I'll take each project and kind of break it down into specific tasks. And I try to make sure that these tasks take me no more than like 15 to 30 minutes max. That's how like granular and like step by step I like to break it down into. And I try to make sure that I know exactly, or I try to guesstimate how much time each task is going to take me. And a really good tip here is to take the time that you think it's going to take you and double it and allot yourself that much time for it to get done. Some tasks might like finish a little bit quicker than that, but some might actually take you that like double the amount of time. And this is another really good way to build in margin with your plan as you create it. So from there, once I have all of my tasks kind of like listed out, I try to group them into tasks that I could do either in like one afternoon or in a couple of days. And so that provides me with a little bit of like a weekly focus of what I want to do to make progress on those big business goals as I am still serving my clients and as I am still marketing my business. So there's two ways that I would then go about during the actual 90 days of executing on this quarterly plan that I've made to work on my business goals. So in the past, I have done two different things. I have either taken a weekly approach to things where I set aside a certain day of the week that I was always going to work on these bigger business goals. And for you, if you don't have a whole day out of the week, maybe this just looks like either one morning block or one afternoon block every single week. So for me, when I was first starting out, Thursdays were my like project, my business project days. I called them my business development days. And so every single Thursday, I would check emails in the morning, but then the whole rest of the day, I was really just working on those big business goals that I had. And then I would check my emails in the afternoon, and then that would be it. I wouldn't take any client meetings on those days. I wouldn't take any shoots on Thursdays. If it was a really, really heavy like wedding season, then sometimes I would like use that time for editing. But I try to be really, really strict with myself and treat Thursdays like treat my business like it was a client. And so that was what I did for the longest time. Now I take a little bit of a different approach, and I will look at my calendar and I will assign different like days where I know I don't have as much like editing work to work on my weekly focuses or to work on my like business goals. And so I'm going to show you a little walkthrough of two different ways of doing this. So like the weekly version versus like the monthly version that I just talked through so that you get a visual representation because we're all photographers and we appreciate visuals. So this is a look at what the weekly rhythm looks like. So as you can see, this is if you're using a weekly kind of like batch system. So all the blue are shoots that you potentially have. So weddings and or engagement sessions. And so marketing you can see is in red. Editing and culling is in the purple. And then your business like goals are in black. So as you can see here, you have like marketing on every single Monday. So you have some time to just like schedule out your marketing content every single Monday. And then because you have Christina and Sam's wedding here, you know that you're going to take, kind of like Monday through Wednesday to like really work through culling the images, editing the images. But then every single Thursday, even if you have a session the day before, you're going to take a lot of that chunk of time on Thursday to really focus on your business goals. So for the purpose of this example, I forgot to mention this earlier, the business project that you are focusing on for the specific month out of your quarterly plan is creating an engagement session style guide for your couples. So at the beginning of the quarter, you've kind of already like listed out things that you need to do and broken that down into, okay, you need to create your content like have a general content outline of what you want to say in the engagement session style guide. You know that you need to find some pictures for your guide. You know that you need to actually take the time to write out the content. And then you know you need to spend some time designing the actual guide and putting it all together in Canva, and that's going to take the bulk of your time. And then you know that you have to finalize the guide in Canva and then add it into, like, add the link or add the PDF into your actual email template. So that's the whole project kind of broken out, and you can see that you've like this designated certain parts of that whole kind of like project plan to different Thursdays of the week. That's one way of kind of like organizing 1 month of your like upcoming 90 days. And so here is a look at how you would do it if you want to just look off of like a monthly rhythm. I think that this one kind of offers a little bit more flexibility, just because you can, if you have a really crazy wedding season where you have like 2 or 3 shoots every single week for a couple of weeks, you know that you are not going to like slot your like project, like your business project, at the same time during the week. You can just use some weeks that are a little bit lighter where you have a little bit of a break in order to work on your business goals. And so I do think it just is a little bit more flexible in how you can use your time that way. Um, but as you can see in this schedule, you have the same weddings and the same shoots on the same days, but then you know that you're going to take the first 2 days of the month to kind of just do your maintenance tasks and batch your marketing for the whole month. So you're going to take a lot of time Monday and Tuesday to get all of that done and kind of all of that out of the way for the whole month, so that the rest of the month you can really focus on serving your clients really well and then working on those business goals. So here you can see on Wednesday, then you know that you have time to kind of outline your style guide and start writing your content. You have the wedding Saturday, and then you're going to use the next 3 days to really work through editing that whole wedding. Then Thursday and Friday, you're going to take some time to come up with the pictures for the style guide and then design your style guide in Canva. So start styling it or start designing it. And then you still have some time before your upcoming engagement session. So you're going to use that time again to finish kind of designing the guide and then finalizing it. Here, you know that you're going to use Thursday and Friday to call and edit images from Ben and Kayla's session. And you have another wedding on Saturday for Ali and Jacob. And so then you're going to use the upcoming like Monday through Wednesday to really again focus on turning those images around. And then at the end of the month, you're going to have 1 day left where you are hopefully done editing the wedding if you're fast enough to do it that way, to finish up working on the engagement session style guide. So as you can see, both of these work and you're still able to do kind of the same amount of work during both of the months. It's just a different way of organizing your time. So that's how I like to take my business goals and quarterly plan for the whole quarter, but then also break my goals down in a way where they are action based and time based so that I know that I'm making progress on them every single week or every single month.